Hello. We'll get started in just a moment. So, stand by, Miss Mel. Just gonna give it a minute or two to see if anyone else pops in. Plus, it's only 8 o'clock on the dot. Thank you for the share. Well, alright, we should just get going. So, I have a smidgen of brown on my brush that's not supposed to be there, so 1 second, we're going to throw some color on that sky. Soon sky. There we go. Alright. So, got liquid white on my canvas so far. Shade to our regulars, appreciate it. So, we are going to just come right over here. Blending over here. Oh, I'm not really blending so much as I'm putting down the base coat of paint. So, I'm going to use this same brush. I'll switch brushes in a minute, but for now I'm going to use the same brush when I come in here. This is a red, but it's purple because of the blue on my brush. So, have that down. And then I will switch, and grab untainted red. I'm going to throw that in there. I'm going to mix that like so. We'll do a more proper blend, like I said, in just a moment. Just grabbing some color. Making sure to keep yellow and blue separate since I'm not really trying to have a green sky today. Doesn't mean I can't have orange in here though. Like I said, this is just a base coat. This is not the final result. I'm just gonna have to hang on. Alright, and just hold on. Grab more of that plain old red color. I can come in here and blend into my blue without worrying about making green. I'm going to grab a clean, dry brush to blend this out. And then we're going to add a couple of different other little shades, and we'll throw some clouds out there. So we're just going to do some blending. Make sure your brush is clean and dry. That is very important. And if your brush that you're blending with has color on it, that color is going to deposit and it's going to make for some potentially interesting colors in your sky. So, clean and dry brushes. Clean and dry brushes also means that you periodically have to change out your brush cleaner if that gets too much paint in that as well. Hard to have clean brushes when your brush cleaner is a murky shade of whatever color you last cleaned in it. So I'm gonna start with my lighter colors over here because I don't want the dark and the light, but it's okay if the light's in the dark. All right. I use a combination of little circles and X's as I'm blending. It's just a preference. Like I said, I'm careful. As much as I'm grabbing red and yellow, I'm trying to avoid grabbing any blue while I'm coming up into my yellow. Still trying to not have a green sky. It's not the goal today. Sometimes I put green in my sky. Today is not one of those days. So. Just gonna blend this out. Come down here, move to these darker colors. Clean my brush. Flying Colors, painting name. Oh, what number am I on? This should be number 110. What is, you asking for the painting name? Because that will be decided at the end. Through random selection based on comment suggestions. Flying Colors. I guess they could be flying colors. I don't know. So, just gonna blend that just a little bitty bit more. And then we're going to grab some titanium white, mix it into some of our initial colors. So I'm going to have like a lighter yellow, a very kind of lightish red color, and then we're going to do like a light blue. I'm just going to come back into that sky with just lighter colors, and then we'll get adding to some clouds here. We're going to do a little bitty bit of layering. I'm not going to spend all day on it though. Just a little. There is, you know, the liquid white at the base, so we don't need to do, like I said, we don't need to do a lot, but a little goes a long way. Start with just lightening up here and there. And just adding a little brightness. Just to blend it in and add slight differences. It'll probably be a bit more noticeable when I come in with this light pink. Yeah, that is a bit more noticeable. We're going to do the same after cleaning off this brush with that little bit of light blue, excuse me. We're just gonna come back in after and actually start making our clouds. Okey dokey. Fan brush handy. Loading it up with plenty of titanium white. And we're just gonna come in here and start making some clouds. I'm gonna start over here. Pushing and smushing, twirling and whirling, I guess. We can twirl and whirl. Trying to spread out the paint enough that it kind of looks somewhat even. You don't want globs that are too big. But you don't need to blend it to oblivion either. You're not really blending it yet anyway, but leave some paint spots. You just don't need to make them. You don't want to leave too much paint. You want like a relatively thin layer. You can always come back and add more, but taking away is a difficult thing to do. We become vertical with our cloud. And then we can brush away those strokes by lightly coming horizontally. And we're going to brush the darkness off of our fan brush, and we're going to make another cloud, probably a few. Your brush does not need to be perfectly clean though, guys. Just as long as you have a relatively clean fan brush, just something that doesn't have a ton of that excess paint on it. That's all we're really looking for. I also apparently did not put enough titanium white on my palette, so we're going to have to add some more. So, let me do that real quick. Oakley dokley. I had chicken and rice for dinner. What about you? I technically also had chicken and rice. I had Chinese food. Because I was out and about getting my dog neutered today, and I picked up Chinese food on the way home. I tried to get my poster prints printed and picked up today, but they are delayed, so I will have to acquire them a different day, unfortunately. I can't add them to my store today, even if I wanted to. It was not in the cards. So, and we're just making the cloud with little circles, just making sure to keep on the move. We don't want to blend our cloud into oblivion. We just want to blend it so it takes shape. Once it has a little bit of shape, move on. Easy peasy. We can do the same thing with those vertical brush strokes. And then come across horizontally just to kind of make those brush strokes disappear while simultaneously fluffing our cloud. We're already starting to see a nice sky come together. I had chicken cutlet with rice and beans. Oh, that also sounds good. Can't say I've had that before. I feel like I've had like pork and beans. I don't know if I've had it with rice though. Sounds good though. Does anyone have any plans for dessert throughout the week? I don't have any plans, but I do love a good dessert. I do love a good dessert. If we're going to be talking about food, because I like food. I also accidentally touched blue with this white, so we're gonna put this next cloud over here, and then make sure I give my my fan brush a proper cleaning before putting another cloud into my sunny spot. So. Pretty sure painting sounds is low-key required. We all had chicken and rice of some sort. It's a good meal. It's filling. It's relatively simple. Even if I make it at home, I feel like it's not like anything super crazy. And we end up with leftovers because it's so filling. It's a win-win. Especially if you've got multiple mouths to feed. Although ours is more or less a cheat because, like I said, I was taking he is a dude, taking my dog to get neutered today. There will be no puppies coming out of him. It was never in the plan to begin with. So, like I said, because I was very much in my blues just now, I am going to just clean both of these brushes here real quick before coming back in, putting another little cloud fluff of some sort in that yellowy spot. I got a box of Japan snacks for a friend in Canada. Oh, that sounds nice. I don't have any plans, but I will get snacks. Like I said, I don't actively have any plans for any sort of dessert. I think we have leftover brownies from card night, courtesy of my husband's parents, and I'm pretty sure there's some ice cream in the freezer. Fairly confident, actually. I know there's ice cream. We have like one whole tub and remnants of a second. It's not like a fancy dessert, but it is technically dessert. It's simple and delightful. As I mildly clean my brush here. Anyway, I'm just gonna make a proper space for my titanium whites. I'm just cleaning slightly in front of my white there. That's how I dipped into blue in the first place. My colors were too darn close. Oh, I won't have to worry about crowding my palette as much when my new one shows up. I know it is shipped. I keep forgetting to actually check the tracking to see where it is. So I don't actually know where it is, but I know it's on its way, and it has been since sometime last week. So at some point, I will have a fancy schmancy new palette that I can hold and show you guys where how I'm mixing my paints, and they should have plenty of room on my palette so I don't crowd them. I don't crowd my colors. And anyway, I'm looking forward to having a new spacious palette hopefully soon. So, ooh, strawberries and whipped cream, that sounds really good. That does. I feel like I've had a dessert like that before, but it's been so long. So, and I don't remember if I said it today or not, guys. When I'm blending my clouds, I just have like a 1-inch oval brush. It's a natural bristle, so it's a pretty stiff brush, but it does work really, really well for blending out my clouds. So you can use a softer brush. You don't have to use a natural bristle brush. It just depends on the look that you want for your clouds. So it's all personal preference, guys. It really is. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's probably some cardinal rules. Don't ask me what they are. I'm self-taught, but yeah. You've been saying new palette for a few weeks. No, not a few weeks, because I didn't even order it until, it took, I think, 2 or 3 days for it to ship. I think it took 3 days for it to ship from when I ordered it, which I think was like a Sunday or Monday. And then last week, it's probably only been roughly a little over a week from whenever I ordered it. It just feels like it's been longer than that because I see you guys like 5 times a week. So I feel like I'm probably really repetitive, but I'm really excited about it. So, and maybe you've heard it multiple times. Someone else who's here might not have ever heard it before. So it's exciting, okay? We're sharing the news with friends new and old. hasn't been a few weeks, but it has probably been more than one. So I did want to order it. There was a period of time where I was like waiting for funds to drop on Etsy, or from TikTok, whoever I was waiting for funds from. I couldn't order it until I got paid, and then had to wait for the funds to actually hit my regular account from there. So there's been a lot of like hurry up and wait when it comes to getting my new palette. It's the nature of life, probably. So but yeah, it's only been on its way for probably a little over a week. And I am very excited to share with you guys my new palette whenever it gets here. Eventually. If I ever remember to check my tracking, I'll let you know. Today's not that day. It wasn't yesterday either. So. Alrighty. Clouds are cloudy. Just kind of get off any excess paint on my brush. Throw it down there. It's fine because we're about to go into some tree business. I have more name ideas already. Drop them in the comments if you've got name ideas already. Go for it. It's never too early to start dropping your title suggestions. And if you are new here, as we get closer and closer to finishing the painting, I ask for title suggestions for what you think would be a good title for the painting, and then we randomly select a title for it out of the comments in the chat. So, if you think you've got a really good title, it's in your best interest, if you want it to be selected, to put it in the comments more than once. And it's just fun. It's just a fun little thing we do here when I paint on TikTok. So, just a fun little thing, okay? Where is it? Round out that little bit over there. There we go. He got a little square at the bottom because it didn't initially blend exactly like I wanted it to. I just re-cleaned my brush and I'm just coming back in here and fluffing him a little bit. Alright. Barely touching. Stopped. What did Bob used to say? Like 2 bristles and some air? Or 3 bristles and some air? Not a lot of actual brush touching that spot. So, I'm going to mix up a light bluish green color. I've got some phthalo green on my palette as well as some phthalo blue. We're just going to mix that. I'm going to have a little bit more green than blue because there's not going to be a ton of layers in this painting. I don't need to make my distant things super blue, but they can still be hinted blue so that there's some distinction there. And mix in a little bit of titanium white just so I can see what color I've got here. Make sure it's not super green, because the more distinct greens are going to make the painting a little bit closer. I do kind of want that kind of off sort of greenish color. So bluish green, like I said. Michael Scott, can you move our view closer? Yeah, I can actually. So, pardon the move. We're gonna scoochy scooch. I don't want to get you too much closer than that because then I'll be kicking you all the time. Whoops, I bet there was a slight delay. So, there we go. Try to get you angled over here. Mr. Michael once it stops shaking. Is that better? Like I said, I don't want to get you too close because I don't want to kick my camera holder stand. It's very redneck over here. Until the day I can get a more proper set of it functions. So, but yeah, is that, because I don't always have the same size canvas that I'm painting on. Today it's 12 by 16. Yesterday it was a 16 by 20, which is why it was a little bit further back, because it didn't need to be super close. But I should have moved it a little bit closer. I usually do when I'm doing the smaller canvases. I got a little sidetracked to my setup. But hopefully, Mr. Michael, that is a little bit better for you. I'll be cognizant to not kick you guys, because that would be rude. But we're going to put some background trees in here, so we are going to start with just like some little liney dudes. I'm going to kind of come from the outer edges, not all the way, but outer edges. I'm going to work my way in. So we're just going to come in here, and we're not really worrying too much about what these look like. They're just little liney trees in the background that we're going to mess with again in a little bit. So you just put these any old place. You can come more down, you can come more up if you want. You can do one of those things. Just as long as you're kind of putting them in. Don't worry. Like I said, we're gonna be messing with these again here momentarily, like 0.2 seconds. I just gotta clean this brush first. I'm slowly increasing my arsenal of paintbrushes, but I still have to wash them from time to time. It's a whole thing. And since I will probably never have a different brush for every color of the rainbow, we're just gonna have paint washing mini breaks worked in there. All right. I'm named after the famous artist. Oh, I didn't know. That's so perfect. Thank you so much. I love art and also your work. My name is Michelangelo. Oh, that's cool. That is super cool, Michael. And I'm glad that the new positioning actually works better for you, because it's a win-win if you guys can see what I'm doing and I can also see what I'm doing. So I'm glad that this works better. And we're just 1-inch brush, guys. Nothing too crazy. I'm gonna bring some of this color down with just some tappy motions. Tippy tap, coming down, or starting a little higher and working it down. Pardon my tongue ties here. And then we're just gonna brush up. And that's why I said it didn't really matter if these kind of tree shapes were the most perfect thing ever, because we're brushing them up. We're straightening them out, we're fixing up anything that was a little bit crooked, and we're taking a few trees and turning them into many trees, okay? These are background trees. They don't have to be perfect. And we can always fix them since this is a wet on wet technique. We're not done until we stop painting because the paint's still wet. We got flying trees. They're not flying yet. They're not crooked anymore. I fixed them. Alright. I'm going to come, same color. We're just going to come from the other side and do it again. So. We can come down a little bit further. We can sort of tap, push it into the canvas a little bit. I want to say palette in the worst way sometimes. And this, a tappy motion versus a swipey motion. Very technical dialogue, by the way. It just changes the effect, really. It just kind of gives it enough distinction to kind of push it that little bit more in front of what we just put down behind it. So, and I'm just gonna run right into there. And put one little tree blurble right there. And these ones we're gonna treat slightly differently, but similarly, because like I said, these are still supposed to be more in the background, so I don't want a ton of detail here, but I do need maybe a hair more detail than what I just did a moment ago. Okay, just a hair. Love the sky. Thank you, Rocky. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining and commenting. If you pop into the live, drop a hi, say, I don't know, say something. I'll say something back. We can converse while I tap down the foggy bits of my trees, and we're gonna swipe up, not all the way this time though. Like I said, we're gonna do something slightly different with these trees. They're slightly closer, we can do something slightly different without giving them too much detail. So, there's that. And I'm gonna brush off a little bit of the excess paint on my fan brush, but I still need a little bit of paint, okay? I just don't want a ton of paint, just a little. And on some of these trees, maybe this one, we're just gonna touch. Just come back and forth, change the angle here and there. We are adding more distinct tree shapes here and there. Very cool, thank you. Through Heaven's Eyes, awesome title suggestion, Miss Mel. So, there's one. Look at that. Even though these are far away, if you look out in the distance, you can usually pick up small little details here and there. Even if you can't pick out every branch or every tree, your eyes are going to pick up here and there, you know, a tree here, a branch there. Maybe you can see the vague distinction of a trunk of a tree. So, it's pretty normal. So I'm just putting in little distinctions, little hints that there are trees out here. And so we'd probably be able to see a few. Just with the corner of my brush. I'm not using the whole thing. I'll put another one right here. I'm gonna drop in a few of these wherever I think they might stay visible. And if they get covered up, so be it. That's how these things go sometimes. We don't get to keep every detail we put in, but we'll keep some. So maybe there's another one. We'll bring this guy a little taller. Maybe this one lives right over here. And just kind of bring it out wider and wider as you come down to the bottom. Nothing too crazy. So, I'm just kind of, maybe I'll give this guy a friend. I mean, I know they say trees are crowd, but it's probably not. Trees like to have friends too. Ask them, they'll tell you. Just kidding. Alrighty. Just gonna do a couple little tappy taps, just kind of reframe some of that in there so it's not too distinct. Because it's not really supposed to be, remember? These are in the background. I'm going to throw some bushes in front here in a moment. And I'm going to make my bushes just a little greener because they're a little closer. I might even add just a hint of like a yellowish, greenish color as like a highlight as we just work our way forward. Okay? I can also, guys, give a little trunk here and there as I scratch away the paint. Like I said, you might see a couple trunks here or there. I'll throw in a couple. Easy as pie. Although making pie is actually quite difficult and very time consuming, and this is way easier. So, I am going to grab bippity boppity burp Oh, what the heck, we'll just use the same 1-inch brush. We'll just load it with a slightly greener green. So I'm gonna grab my phthalo green still. I'm gonna add a little bit more to that paint mixture so it's a little bit more green than blue instead of a little bit more blue than green like it was. I'm gonna mix it up. Like I said, eventually I'll be able to show you guys this process. Not for there. So. And this is just kind of the more of an under color, the shadow color, if you will, of my bushes. This is today's shadow color anyway. It's not, these are far away, so I'm not using a super dark undercolor today. And this is just kind of, like I said, coming in here, we're adding some shapes. Adding some shapes. Leaving some of these foggy areas. We're not covering everything. We want a sense of distance. And I am mildly winging it, mostly because I didn't have a very solid plan today. Because I was out and about in town getting my doggo neutered. Or dropping him off to get neutered, but I had to stay in town because it was an hour drive. So I couldn't just, you know, leave. I had to kind of hang out, so I am a little bit just winging it, guys. So we're gonna put some bushes down. And then we're gonna take those bushes and we're gonna put some highlights on them. What's up? Hello, Raven. Enki, very cool. Thank you. Thanks for all of the likes so far, guys. Keep that up. Love that. Great job. I am going to make a slight little highlighty color, which I'm just going to mix teensy, weensy, itty bitty amount of yellow ochre into my now greenish blue bush color. I'm going to take a even smaller amount of titanium white and a very, very small amount of liquid white. Because a little bit of liquid white truly goes a long way, and I don't need this to be super thin for it to stick. I really don't. Not for this particular technique. I am going to clean off my brush, and we're going to drop a few highlights onto these little bushes here that I just dropped into existence. Beautiful work. Thank you, Rose. Appreciate it. And this painting, even though it's not there yet, it will go onto my Etsy store after I am done painting it today. I usually try to update my Etsy store every day after I'm done painting. And if I remember, I update it with a stock image before I actually paint, but more often than not, I update it after the show. So, because I occasionally struggle to do things in a more sensible order, but we'll get there. And soon, hopefully this week, I wasn't able to pick them up today, but I do have some prints. There are going to be some poster prints coming to my Etsy store this week, which is super, super exciting. Yeah. So, we are just going to tap, little taps, side of the brush. Almost a blunt side. There's a little bit of angle here as I kind of tap and layer my way a little bit closer, making sure to leave gaps because the color and brightness aren't always going to be all over the place. There's going to be shadows, okay? Shadows exist. It's normal. It's natural. So we're not going to cover all of our shadows. We need them. They're our friends. We can mess with the angle of our brush a little bit. We come closer and closer. And I'm going to try using my other 1-inch brush just to see if it does anything different, if it behaves similarly or not. We'll find out together. So, this one doesn't stick quite the same way. So we'll leave this as just a little side. This is just going to be a little grass. We're going to get another brush. This one doesn't do the same thing, even though it's the same shape, because the bristles are a different material. I think that one's full synthetic. I think this other one I have is a synthetic blend. So it is grabbing the paint and depositing it in a way that makes more sense for bushes. So that's what we're going to use. We're just going to continue working our way forward with these little bushy highlighty colors, leaving space where it's a little bit darker. We're not covering everything up. And we'll come back, we'll add a few little branches and sticks and things like that. And who knows, maybe we'll do like a little river passing through and a couple big old pine trees. Wouldn't that be delightful? Let me just touch up the edges here. I try to remember to do my edges as I go, so I don't have to do too much with that at the end. So, it's not my strong suit, but always learning. The habits will come the more I do it. So, 50 boppity boop branches, that's what we're doing. That's your link. Oh, thank you. I don't see the link, but that's okay. And then from the shadows spring the branches. Here and there, here and there. Wherever you think a branch lives, that's probably where it lives. Let's be honest. Maybe you have a lot of branches, maybe you have a few. You might see more branches towards the bottom where they're kind of springing up from. And I kind of like to take just a little bit of paint just sort of towards the bottom here where my branches kind of spring up from at the base, and just put a itty bitty amount of paint in there just to kind of push them back just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Try to keeping it simple. I do think I like the idea of doing like maybe a little river here and just putting like maybe a couple large pine trees right in front of there. I think that would be delightful. So grab a little bit of blue on this same old dirty brush, because blue-green water, probably what you would see here. So, we're not going to do a huge river, but maybe we just have something that starts over here, comes over here. And I've got the bottom of my bushes right about there, so I'll add some land, obviously, but we're going to add the water first. Then I'll add my land, I'll add a water line, all this good stuff. All these necessary elements. And we'll lighten it up, and it's not going to stay dark forever. But we got to start somewhere. Gotta start somewhere. We already kind of have a little bit of what could be considered wowzers. Little bits of reflections. Like some of that color is already down there. We've got the green. So we're just going to come in here. Maybe we start over here. We're just going to drag this land into existence. And we're just going to come over here. Get too much, bring it the other way. I'm not going to worry too much about these edges over here. Just kind of getting my land into place. And that's all. Because. I'm gonna put stuff over there. It's gonna cover up the land anyway. So it's not ultimately going to matter if the land comes perfectly all the way over. And same as with the bottoms of my branches, just adding taps of color here and there just to blend kind of where the grass meets the land. Just so that it just kind of blends that little bit more naturally. Just a couple seconds. Obviously the land needs to stay there, but if we blend it in a little bit. Grab some titanium white, because like I said, we've already got that greenish color in there. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to start a little low for my waterline at first so I can blend in some lighter spots. Just kind of make it a little bit of a chunky waterline, as I like to call it. Just so I have something to grab onto as I add some brightness out here. I'm just going to take a brush. We're going to bring that color straight down. Straight down to start. Then we're going to come over. And if you want it brighter, you can do that again. It's so easy, guys. So, I'm just going to come over, chunk up a waterline. You can steal this paint, you can bring it over here, steal and bring, smush. It's just some brightness. Straight down, straight down, straight down. You can even, it's okay if you touch your land a little bit. It does not have to stay this perfect thing. Just adding a little bit of brightness. And then, I'm going to come in here. And this time I'm mixing in just a teeny weeny bit of my liquid white into my titanium white. We're just going to actually come put our water line in. The liquid white just helps the paint for the water line move that little bit better. When I'm blending it away into just water highlights, it doesn't really matter if I get the finest line or not, because it's going to be blended into the water. So it doesn't matter. But if I need that fine line, that liquid white really actually helps thin the paint out enough that you can get super, super fine lines with your palette knife. And it is just delightful. And I'm just putting an itty bitty amount of paint on my palette knife. Teeny weeny little roll. Barely a hint. You don't need a lot. You really don't. I can take more of that liquid white. It can be a mix. It can be just straight liquid white. Just come in here. Add a couple little highlighty bits. You get too much, spread it out. Easy as that. You get too much paint on here. It's wet. Spread it out. And I don't want to blend this detail away, but I do want to soften it. So that's why I just kind of come over it a little bit with a brush. Typically a clean dry brush is better. This one is not clean or dry, but it is the brush that I've been using to blend my water. So it was clean and dry, so it doesn't actually have a ton of color on it. It's very, very little. Very, very little color on this particular brush. All right. We never not paint water. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are paintings I have that don't have any water in them. They're my forest paintings, generally speaking. Well, sometimes they have water in them, but not always. My first cave painting, oh no, that did actually have water in it. Okay, I paint water a lot. Water is great, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, guys, I'm gonna make this up a really dark color. I'm gonna take some blue, take some red. I'm gonna have to add some black to my palette so we can make some big old foreground trees and bushes and push everything we just did further into the background. Because it's looking pretty close and chummy right now. Not yet, Mel, but thank you. So I'm gonna mix up a nice dark undercolor. Does anyone want to wager a guess at the 3 colors I'm mixing together for my super dark undercolor, my shadowy color? 3 colors. I'll tell you anyway, but you can take a guess if you so desire. While I load up a fan brush that I need to clean first. And then I will tell you guys. Keep an eye out. I will. Any guesses? 3 colors for my shadowy color. Momentarily, I'm going to tell you, because I'm going to start painting this tree. So, just loading some color onto my fan brush, so I can make some decisions on where this tree and its tree friends are going to live. Because I'm probably going to put a couple. Purple, blue, black, very close. Blue, black, and crimson. I typically use Prussian blue, alizarin crimson, midnight black. It might be ivory black. I can't see the label on my black anymore, unfortunately. But we are gonna come up here, way up here, and look. Foreground tree. It does make a purpley black with the red and the blue mixed together in the black, but purple isn't technically in the color mix. It just is sort of an effect of mixing red and blue with black. How much red or how much blue depends on the individual or what, you might be painting. I tend to do a pretty even mix. And I do occasionally step out one of the colors, but it's very situational. So if you need a dark undercolor, blue, black, and crimson make a really dark undercolor. We're just gonna come in here, small touches to start. Coming to the left and to the right, adding little branches up into our sky that are on our tree. They don't have to be all the same. Just start working them down, making them a little bit bigger, using a little bit more of the brush as you come down. Or you can leave a couple little shorties. It's alright. Because sometimes that happens in nature. You get all these branches coming out nice and long, and then suddenly you get these itty bitty little ones. Maybe they got caught in a storm. I don't know. Something happened, knocked one out, or it just didn't grow all the way. I see a lot of trees like that around here, but we have a lot of high winds around here, so I imagine that it's a side effect of having such high winds. Sometimes a tree loses some branches, knocks them short. So, and then out of nowhere they get really, really big. They come all the way out and they start covering in front of things. Like, whoa, suddenly we have a tree. We're getting there anyway. We're getting to our tree. there's still some tree to be had. It comes this way and that way. It gets all filled up and fluffy. And I have to go get more paint because I'm running out of paint on my brush. I tap out the excess because that's what I have to do because I overload my brushes all the time. So I always tap out the little bit of excess onto my palette. I'm going to skip a little bit of trunk and put like a little baby boop right there. And this tree is going to be its own unique tree, as they all should be. Alright. Your brush has two sides. You start getting too much lightness or darkness on the other side of your brush from it's absorbing other colors, just flip it over. Flip over your brush. Use both sides. Unless you have a brush that has, I guess, a weird like bristle effect on one side and you just want to avoid that, then just reload it. Brush the darkness off, all that good stuff, but generally you can just flip your brush over and use both sides. Pushing this water to the background. Unfortunately, sometimes to create depth, you gotta cover over the things that you spent time creating. It's a necessary evil. It is, it is. No puzzle piece yet, though. Although, as we are starting to get closer and closer to the end of this painting, we're not there yet, but we're getting closer. Start thinking about more title suggestions. Drop them into the comments. If your comment of a name suggestion got buried, you can put it in again. Drop it closer. We got 3 minutes to an hour. We're getting there. So. For another tree. Maybe this one's a little crooked. That's alright. I got some pretty curvy trees in my yard. They do not all grow straight up and down. Let me tell you that. But start thinking of name suggestions. Drop them into the comments, see if you've got any. Your title might get chosen for painting number 110. Because I have no problems numbering my paintings and leaving it as the painting number, but it's fun. We pick a name together. We do. And then you get to tell your friends and family that you named a painting. If you feel like. You don't have to brag. I brag to people for you guys saying that we picked names and that they're super cool and fun. So even if you don't brag, I brag on your behalf. We're just going to come down here. Maybe this tree is a little skinnier, a little awkward in certain places because it just didn't grow quite as uniform as its friend. And so maybe instead of having branches that come all the way down in some places, it's got some that are longer here and there. And then it just kind of didn't get any branches right there, but now it has more right here. Maybe it stole all the sunlight towards the bottom and its branches come all the way down right there. And that's why that one has more trunk at the bottom. I don't know. I make this up as I go. Look at that. Look at that tree. Gotta go enjoy it. Thanks for showing the process. Thank you. Talk to you later, Enki. Hope to see you again, perhaps. Perhaps. We're going to add a few more of these trees, and then we're going to add a couple little bushy bits. But I'm going to put maybe one more tree over here. We'll do like a medium tree. Not as tall as this one, but maybe taller than that one. It's just going to come, maybe it comes kind of over this way. We got a lean, mean tree machine. definitely a leaner. Maybe because it's so close to the water. We'll get some highlights on these trees. Don't worry. They're not going to stay all dark and brooding forever. Just for a few minutes. Oh yeah, you will. Well, thank you. Hope to see you soon. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central Standard, Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time is when I stream. So hopefully that helps. I don't have it really posted anymore, but yeah, Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time is when you can find me. For a slightly inconsistent amount of time. 1 hour to 1.5 hours usually. So, later. We're just gonna tippy tappy, tippy tappy. Alrighty. And clearly you guys have been tippy tappying on the screen because I see my heart count going up. We're at a little over 2,000, guys. You got busy thumbs and busy fingers. It is very helpful. The comments are helpful. The hearts are helpful. Any of the gifts, if you guys send gifts, it's all very helpful. It all supports me and my little artist. I don't really want to call it a hobby, because it is kind of a hobby, but it's also what I do, along with, you know, general life. So, I feel like I should have one tree that's a little fuller than its friends, even if it's a leaner. Maybe this one has more branches. They're a little bit more consistent. They come down, down, down. Using more and more of the fan brush as we work our way down this tree. It's so close to the water, it has all the nutrients it needs. Apparently. So has decided me. I really should. Oh, hello, puzzle piece. Get out of here. I succeeded on the first try. That never happens. I usually have to do that darn little puzzle piece thing like at least 2 or 3 times. But I got it. First try. Hooray. So, we've got trees, guys. They live in my world. Up close and personal. I'm going to do a couple things here real quick with these trees. First, I'm going to clean up a 1-inch brush so it's not so green. And then I'm going to take the bottom of a couple of these trees and just blend them this way and that way. And this one is going to come this way. This just gives them a little place to sit. So, I'm just going to put a little bit of a shadow underneath them. Once we get to the rest of the land, you'll see it'll come together. Alright? Alright. And we're going to grab that same 1-inch brush. I didn't change brushes because I'm using the same color. I don't need to. And I'm just going to add like we're just going to tap, tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. Put at least one good bush in here. Alright. Now it'll kind of eke its way out over here. Maybe there's a tiny little floofer. It's gonna sit in front of this tree. You might not be able to see the distinction. I'll be able to see it. It looks wonderful so far. Thank you, Asher. Appreciate it. Also appreciate whoever tapped the screen 500 times. Probably multiple people. Appreciate it. We're at 3,000 now, guys. And I'm gonna put the ittiest bittiest little floof bush right there. Just a corner of one. Because I want to leave some land where you can kind of see behind the bushes. I have to say that because I need to hear it. Maybe you guys are really good at leaving space for stuff. I have to remind myself, frequently have to remind myself to leave space for your mind to wander. You gotta build good painting habits, guys. They don't just happen overnight. I don't make the rules. Let's see here. We're gonna clean off my big fan brush and we're gonna grab one of my little fan brushes as well. And we're gonna mix up a highlight color. I'm going to grab, well, first I'm gonna clean off a space to mix said colors onto my palette because I don't have space on my palette. Because my palette is little and it crowds easy and I'm not the most organized. So I'm gonna clean off a space first and foremost to mix a highlight color for my trees and bushes that I just plopped down into existence. All right. It makes me want to watch Never Ending Story. Oh, I thank you. That's a good movie. I can't remember if it was the sequel, because I think there was 3 of them, so I don't know if it was the second one or the third one. One of those ones was kind of just okay-ish, but the first one was good. I enjoyed the first one. And the soundtrack was actually pretty good. It's such an old movie now. I don't actually remember when it came out, but I think it was kind of on the older side, even when I was growing up. I'm not sure. I could be talking out my butt. I don't know. Just cleaning some brushes, guys. Since I'm going to need brushes to highlight these foreground things here as well. So I'm going to grab my palette knife, brush off the darkness because it's got a little darkness on it. And we're going to grab, because I don't have it on my palette, we're going to grab some sap green, a nice bright, well, the color itself is quite dark at first, but we're going to mix in a little bit of liquid white, a little bit of titanium white. A little bit along the way, guys. You don't always need a ton of those bright light colors. So the thin paint sticks to a thick paint, so I do need to thin out my green a little bit. It's got to happen, but there's blues and reds under there, so there's colors for this to mix in with, so you'll actually get like a really nice highlighty color. You'll see. You will. It's going to be delightful. All right. And you can even add an itty bitty bit of blue if you want like a more, like a richer, kind of like a, oh, there's an actual name for that color and I can't think of it to save my life right now. But it makes a really nice shade of like green, okay? But you won't, like a little, blue is a really strong color in terms of painting. So you don't need a lot. You really don't. Not at all. So don't mind me mixing my color. Not the fastest ever. You can listen to me talk, I guess. That's a thing. But I think I've got a color here. I think it'll work just about right. Things do tend to get a little darker as they get closer, but I don't want it to be too dark, not too light, somewhere in the middle. I just gotta unbury my fan brush. I have a couple of them. I only need one at the moment. So, let's see here. Let's see. I have a color that will stand out among all that darkness, or if I need to lighten it a smidgen more. We're going to first just touch. Oh yeah, that'll work. That will work. No, agreed. 2 was okay because of all the different beings and creatures, but 3 was met. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's how a lot of trilogies went early on. The first one was usually good, and then any more after that, they kind of tapered off and didn't get as good. I think generally people who make movies now are doing a little bit better with their sequels if they're making duologies or trilogies to just kind of keep the quality as best they can. But I feel like a lot of the sequels that I grew up watching were not usually as good as the original. So, such is life, I suppose. So, tapping off some of the darkness, getting a little bit more of that highlight color. It might not be the most noticeable on the live. It is more noticeable in person. You can see it a little bit. If I look behind my camera, I know you guys can see it at least a little bit. So I'm just using the corner of my brush. Now I am using a smaller brush. I used what I would consider a medium fan brush to put my trees into place. And I am using a smaller fan brush than what I dropped my trees in with to highlight them. Now as I get closer to the bottom where there's a lot of branches, you can use that bigger fan brush again if you want. But especially with these top branches, use a smaller fan brush. Okay? It makes it easier. There's a question, what's your favorite kids movie? Mine is Aladdin and How to Train Your Dragon. If we're talking about kids movies that I grew up watching, I think I could think of two off the top of my head. Mulan, the first one, was an easy favorite of mine growing up. And then another favorite that I watched growing up, which might be a hot take for some people, I prefer the second Lion King over the first. I don't know why, that's what I latched on to growing up, but it is. So yeah, I like the second Lion King more than the first one. I like both. Both are really, really good. But I do have a little bit of a soft spot for the second one. All right, there's my hot take of the day. Kovu, I'm pretty sure that's a V. Anyone else got favorite kid movies out there in the commenting world? I know there's a few of you guys watching. Surely you guys had favorite childhood movies growing up. You must have, at some point. Even if it's not your favorite anymore, that's alright. I'm going to get some brown on my palette knife, and we're going to drop in some little bits of, just some tree bits. Right here. I didn't grab quite enough paint, so we're going to go back again. We're going to get some more, because that's okay. Good, look, now there's plenty. That gets some tree bark. This gets some tree bark. Tree bark. I'm just tapping it in. Whatever falls off the palette knife, that's what falls off the palette knife. Leaving a little bit of darkness, a little bit of lightness. Although I suppose the lightness is just the brown I'm adding, so it's not really super bright. Bright enough to see, not overpowering. It's not really the focal point, but trees have bark. And if you're close enough to a tree to see its shadow bits, you're probably close enough to see some barky bits. So, and we're just going to tap on a little more highlight. I try to make my highlight color a little bit different than whatever, especially if it's cutting in front of like some bushes and stuff, I try to make the highlight color a little bit different than what's behind it so it stands out a little bit. I don't get it right every time, but Aladdin, but my grandma always reminded me they weren't telling it right. I don't know. That's the only Aladdin I know, so if there's a different one, your grandma would have to inform me. My grandma just kicked me outside whenever it was inside too long playing video games or drawing or some such business. Of which she often was doing with me, but she did make sure I got outside good and earnest whenever my friends came over. I was not the most social growing up. So I got kicked outside from time to time. Probably did me good. Now I have my dogs that make sure I get outside, because they sure as heck will not stay in all day. they love being outside, and so I go outside with them. Also, chickens get me outside. I have chickens. And if you're new here, I have chickens. They lay eggs, and they cock-a-doodle-doo. They have roosters too. And it's delightful. I have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 18 chickens. And if you guys have pets, what are their names? What do you have? Do you have birds? Do you have hamsters? Dogs? Cats? What else are pets? People have bunnies sometimes. I used to have bunnies when I was like in... Oh, I was probably a toddler. I wouldn't be able to tell you how old I was, but I was really little. Really, really little. Still using the corner of my brush, guys. Just as a reminder. Both to you and myself. I don't play favorites. I tell everyone equally. So. Let's see if I can't just plop that color on there a little bit quicker. Billy, billy, diddly do. Brushing off the darkness. Ooh, I dropped my paper towels into my paint. That was silly. Somehow I didn't get that much paint on it, so lucky, lucky. What kind of pets do you guys have out there? If any, you don't necessarily have to have a pet. Or you could talk about a pet you had growing up. That's also an option. I have a dog named Lady. Oh, I used to know a dog named Lady. Lady is such a nice name for a dog. I have a dog named Roxy. And a dog named Ruger. Ruger got neutered today, so he's kind of doped up on some medication. Because he has pain meds and he has meds that help him relax. Because he's not supposed to jump or run for 7 to 10 days. But I used to know a dog named Lady. It was a long time ago and she passed. But she was a delightful dog. So I'm sure your lady is also a delightful dog. It's in the name. She's a lady. Is where I was going with that. And I go on tangents. I don't really mean to. It happens. I'm gonna start highlighting our last tree here, guys, though, so definitely start dropping in those name suggestions if you haven't been already. What do you think, if you had painted this, you would be naming this painting? I am going to call it Painting 110 because it's Painting 110. But we have a good time here picking names together. So, what do you guys think? Throw some name suggestions out, and one of them will be randomly selected at the end of the stream when I am signing, dating, and doing all that, more official part of the painting. Flying colors. We used to have a bunny named LBJ. You did. You did used to have a bunny named LBJ. LBJ lived a good life. Short as it was. Short as it was a good life. And just because this tree is getting pretty big and fluffy, I'm just going to switch back to my slightly bigger fan brush since these branches are slightly bigger. Less worried about the nitty-gritty details because these branches are just consistently bigger. It's a bigger tree. You can use a bigger brush. It's okay. It's all right. do need a little bit more paint though. It's gonna happen. And we'll come in here and we'll just keep highlighting this big old tree. He's got all sorts of shades of bluish greenish coming out. That's all right. You can always kind of come back in here too and just touch up little highlights here and there. Just don't get rid of all that darkness. You do need some of your darkness to live. Darkness can't exist without light and vice versa. So you need both. Too much dark and it's going to be difficult to see. Too much light and it's going to look flat. So trying to find a happy medium is the goal. Proper palette. I can't wait. I'm just going to change the flavor of my little highlight color here. There we go. Changing the flavor every now and again is good. Keeps things different and distinct. I just mixed in a little bit more yellow ochre though. Nothing super crazy. Doesn't necessarily always have to be crazy. A little bit more yellow ochre for that one. Looking pretty good though. And just boop, 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 boop. Because we just threw put a little baby bush over there. I'm going to add a couple little bits here and there. And just not killing all the darkness, just coming in and adding little bits here and there. Little grass. I'm kind of just using the very edge of my brush to add in the little grassy bits. Really, nothing too crazy. So we are done highlighting. I'm gonna throw in a few sticks for good measure on these little up close bushy bits. Sign it and date it. If you've got title suggestions, now would be an excellent time to drop those in to the comments section. I'm gonna add some branches. I'm just scraping away paint so you can see the white of the canvas that's underneath. Starting from the shadowy bits and just up. Oh, the crazy branch. Crazy. Look at that. There's another one. Maybe there's a couple growing out of these little grassy bits down at the bottom. Ooh, there they are. They're sticks. This bush has a couple of sticks, even though he's just a little corner bush. He gets his own sticks. We don't leave anyone out. He is big enough to have sticks. Maybe there's a couple little highly sort of barky, sticky things coming out of our tree. Because why not? You keep saying flying colors, it might be flying colors. If you guys have other title suggestions, drop them in. We're going to select one here really soon. I'm signing my name. I'm going to put it in a location that I have yet to determine, but we're getting there as soon as I find my liner brush. Then I'm going to just take some plain Jane liquid white, load up my itty little liner brush. I am pretty sure I have paint on my nose because I can see it, and I don't remember. I'm not sure how I got paint on my nose. But we're gonna sign my name. I'm gonna put it right there. My initials. Boom. There they are. They live there now. So says me. I'm gonna come back in here and just touch it up ever so slightly. There's that. I'm gonna go sign the back. Oh, well, hello. Did I miss someone joining? I don't think so. And if I did, hello, welcome. Thank you for coming to my Monday mayhem. It's not really mayhem, but it was a little impromptu. So we're gonna flip this over. We're gonna do some signing. Rainbow Bright, oh, that's a delightful title. I do like that. Yeah, but we're gonna flip it over. I'm gonna do my signature, I'm gonna date it, I'm gonna number it. Cause I do still number all of them. We pick a title, but I still number all of my paintings just for the sake of sequence and knowing kind of where I'm at. But we pick a title. Where'd my Sharpie go? Oh, fiddlesticks. Un momento, guys. I can't write if I don't have a tool to write with, and it gets lost in the sauce around here sometimes. So, hold my proverbial horses. I might have to run up and get my signing material real quick. Whoopsie doozy. 324 at 110. Did I get muted? I don't think so. You shouldn't have. Only one person in this chat has the ability to mute other than myself, so you should not have been muted. But I am going to go grab a Sharpie real quick, so hold fast, guys. Get those comments of titles in, get those title suggestions in the comments. I'll be back in like 10 seconds. Count. I'll be back. Did anyone count? Was it 10 seconds on the nose? Because I wasn't counting, but I was so fast. I got my Sharpie. Bright Forest, ooh, delightful. Okay, wasn't sure. My kiddo says too early, lol. Too early. Also delightful. I have had kiddos name my paintings before. They have some of the best titles. Although I think everyone in my comment section has way better titles than I do. If I'm being honest, I frequently brag about the titles we picked together. Someone said with the date over here, 24 seconds. That was pretty close. So, 3/24 is the date. I'm gonna throw that over here. 3/24, 2025. Painting number 110. I painted 110 oil paintings. I don't know if you guys can believe that, but I struggle to believe that sometimes. All right, I'm gonna scroll to a little before the titles started coming in, and we're just gonna randomly scroll and stop. I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm not even gonna look. Wherever my finger lands, that is going to be the title. So let's see what it's gonna be. Bright Forest. Miss Rose, your title has been selected. If Miss Mel could please pin that to the top, I would be grateful. So I'll give it a second. So, boom, there it is. It's pinned. Bright Forest. A delightful title for a delightful painting, if I do say so myself. Bright Forest. Look at that. Miss Rose, your title got selected. That's super fun. I think it's super fun. I like doing titles as a group project. If I ever remember to put my paintings up for sale before I start my show, and if someone buys a painting during my show, you get to name the painting. I I remember everything today. Did I remember everything today? I forgot my Sharpie. Or lost one. Not really sure which happened. But yeah, if I ever remember to put my paintings for sale before the show, and if you happen to perchance buy a painting during the show, you get to name it. We still do the same like title suggestion process, but you get to be the one to pick it. But I'm not that good yet because I don't always remember to do that. I try really hard. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But why don't I flip this back around so you guys can see the good side instead of just a bunch of numbers and letters. Because unless you're my toddler, numbers and letters might not be the most interesting thing to you. She's slowly starting to learn her letters and numbers, so they're pretty fascinating to her. Although if you were to ask her, the letter Z is the number 1. She doesn't quite have that figured out. So, way to go, Rose. Wonderfully done. Yes, thank you, Rose. It was a delightful title. And thank you, everyone, for the suggestions. This only works if multiple people suggest titles that we can then randomly select. So this really is a group effort. I've had it where only a couple people suggest titles and we just randomly pick between those couples, but it really is more fun the more titles get thrown out there, the more people participate. So I will be back. Today is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 3 more days this week, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're a little further east, that's going to be 9 p.m. If you are further west, that would be either 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. depending on how far west you are, kind of where you're located. But 8 p.m. Central Standard Time is when I get started here in quite literally the middle of nowhere, North Dakota. So I will be back tomorrow with probably more of a plan. Today was kind of very whimmy, just kind of going with the flow of whatever came off my brush, because I was out and about getting my dog neutered for the majority of the day because I couldn't leave the area. So, but I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'll figure it out. So, if you had fun today, maybe you can come back tomorrow and we can hang out again and make this like a regular thing. So, but for tonight, I will bid you all adieu and clean the rest of my brushes and be back tomorrow. So, ta-ta for now. I gotta clean paint off my nose and my hands. Have a good night, everybody. Bippity boppity button boopings. Oops. Maybe. Boom.